Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, July 2nd, 2003. I first saw this movie in the summer of 2004, which is strange because that's when the movie actually takes place, the summer of 2004. So it fit perfectly, I guess. I guess it was quote-unquote fate. But anyway, the movie stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator. John Connor is played by Nick Stahl. Catherine Brewster is played by Claire Danes. And Robert Brewster is played by David Andrews. And as I told you, this movie's based on 2004. Judgment Day didn't happen in August of 1997 like they thought it would, and that is because it was stopped by Miles Dyson and the Terminator in the second movie. John Connor lives off the grid now. He says he wants to live in a place where no one and nothing can find him. I can't blame the guy, but that doesn't make him any less of a bitch. He is the biggest bitch in the Terminator series, always whining about something. I don't like John Connor. He's my least favorite character in the Terminator series. Skynet sends the TX back, and she's played by Kristanna Loken. She comes back and she kills all of John's lieutenants that could possibly help him in the war against the machines. Then the future version of John Connor sends the Terminator back. And the Terminator is supposed to be an obsolete design. And yet the Terminator beat the TX just like he beat the T-1000 in the previous movie. I will never understand their logic. But now John Connor is supposed to be 25 in this movie. But he can't be 25 because he was born in 1985. Something's not right. Somebody can't count, but whatever. The Terminator comes back and he fights the TX. Catherine Brewster is the daughter of Robert Brewster. Apparently, Miles Dyson doesn't invent Skynet. Apparently, Robert Brewster does. They blame an awful lot of people for inventing Skynet. Now they're saying Robert Brewster did it. They can't seem to make up their minds as to who built this thing. The Terminator comes back like he usually does, saying, "I need your clothes, your boots." He does that, goes and fights the TX. Catherine Brewster is working at some kind of animal hospital. She's something like a vet. It's kind of weird. And to make a long story short, like I said, the TX is supposed to be some kind of advanced model. She ended up killing Catherine's fiance, and we find out that Catherine is actually going to be John's wife in the future. And the movie's basically like Terminator 2. It's not a lot that's different than this. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time on it. Now the TX ends up killing Catherine's father, Robert Brewster. So the TX is defeated by Arnold Schwarzenegger, aka the Terminator. He takes them down to this fallout shelter. He fights the TX. He fights her throughout the movie, but that's basically where the movie ends. And I thought I should mention, she actually beats the Terminator for a minute. And she tries to reprogram him and corrupt his system. And he fights it off and he says, "No, I can't do this." But I thought they said desire was irrelevant. So I don't know how he decided to stay a good guy. He reboots himself and he takes this bomb or whatever you call it out of his body and puts it in her mouth and blows her up. And he says, "You are terminated." I thought that was cool. And the Terminator also kidnapped Catherine Brewster. I also thought that was worth mentioning. I really don't think it's a good idea to kidnap somebody, but then again, when you're trying to save their life, you have to do these things to make sure that they live. His mission was to ensure the survival of John Connor and Catherine Brewster. So what can I say? You do what you have to do. The part I like is when he broke into the store. He didn't break in, but he did take things. So when he took things, the guy says to him, "Hey, are you gonna pay for this?" And he says, "Talk to the hand." That was a cool scene. And I noticed that he got them all junk food. I guess he couldn't get them anything that was genuine, like actual food, because it would spoil. So I guess that part of the movie makes sense. While they're trying to get away from the TX, they mention somebody named Mike Kripke. First of all, his parents should be shot for naming him a name like that. But Mike Kripke is a mutual friend of John Connor's and Catherine Brewster. Apparently, John Connor met Catherine Brewster sometime between Terminator 2 and 3, and they made out in Mike Kripke's basement 10 years ago. So that's like shortly after the events of Terminator 2, they made out. And then they meet 10 years later, which would be 2004, which is technically wrong, because if it's 10 years after the second Terminator movie, then it would be 2005, so somebody got that wrong. The movie takes place in Los Angeles. I don't know what it is with the Terminator franchise and all the movies taking place in Los Angeles. But again, to make a long story short, Catherine Brewster is a bitch, but she's a different kind of bitch, unlike John Connor. All she does is spend the entire movie antagonizing him, basically saying, you're pathetic, you're a mess. So I really didn't like Catherine Brewster either, because she actually ended up marrying him in part 4. Which makes all that other shit that she said irrelevant. But as I told you, the Terminator sacrificed himself to save them from TX, and they survived. There's really not much to say. On to Terminator Salvation. I'm the Michael Myers fanatic. I approve this message. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. It's still a stupid fucking title, but what are you gonna do? Thanks for listening. Once again, it stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator, aka the T-800 or the T-101. Nick Stahl plays John Connor. Claire Danes plays Catherine Brewster. David Andrews plays Robert Brewster. And the TX, aka the Terminatrix, aka the anti-Terminator Terminator, is played by Kristanna Loken. Sarah Connor actually died of leukemia. She wanted to be written out of the story. Linda Hamilton did, I guess. But anyway, I'll see you guys later. Thank you again.